Facebook many times.
I tried it, Mark, but there's a way to go live on LinkedIn.
Is that Ben? Is that you?
We're live. Sorry.
We're live. We're not live. We're live. We're not live. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to believe him or not. He's kind of like the little boy that.
Sorry, YouTube's changing every day on me, so forgive me, please.
Oh, okay. It's YouTube's fault. All right. Well,
yes, it is.
We'll go with that. So, I'm on the big screen, so he's not lying. We are live now. So, but anyway, as I was saying, we're about a minute away from start time, Mark. But I had a thought on the way in here, and as long as SKAP, you're okay to whatever might happen happens.
The only way I work, brother. It's the only way I work. Ask Dustin Harris. We never rehearse anything. We just go. We just go, and that's it.
Me too. That's Julie Jones was on. She's been on a couple of times, and the first time she was like, "Okay, are you going to send me some talking points? Or are you going to?" I said, "No, I'm not sending you. I'm not sending you anything. Nope. It's just a conversation. It's a conversation." John Brennan was on. Scott Reuter did that. We did that. I think he got a little taste of it because I interviewed him on an audio file at a conference one time, and that was fun. So anyway, yeah, we just wing it. I said, I think what people like, we're talking about being real today, right? I think that's one thing that our audience has come to enjoy, that it's real, it's live, it's not rehearsed, it's not scripted. Anything can go. And when I say anything, I mean anything. And that's what I hope Ben's ready today to spring into action, because I just had a thought and I thought I might throw that on him, but I'll wait another 5 minutes or so before we do that. So guys, it's 10 o'clock. It's time to go. We've got several folks watching and more clicking on minute by minute. So it's 10 o'clock. It's start time. So let's get this thing going. Good morning, appraisers. I'm Bryan and Reynolds, your host. You're watching the Appraisal Report webinar, brought to you by Appraiser eLearning. We're happy you're here. We're happy our guest is here. And it should be an interesting day. It should be an interesting conversation. My guess is SKAP. For many of you, you recognize that name. And if you don't, it's Mark Skapinetz. And Mark, welcome to the program. And I'll let you tell your story, tell everybody who you are and what it is you do.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you reaching out. I mean, what's there to say that's not already been said or out there already? I mean, I'm an appraiser here in Atlanta, Georgia, certified residential. I've been doing this going on almost 17, 18 years now. Have my own business down here. So, I mean, what else more is there to say? I mean, I run a couple groups. I'm very involved in a lot of different aspects of the profession. Currently the president of the American Guild of Appraisers. So, I mean, I got a lot going on, kind of like you, my friend, just a lot of wearing a lot of different hats, doing a lot of different things, but I actually really enjoy it.
Yeah. So you're a really busy guy and you got a lot of irons in the fire, kind of like me, you said, but we can boil this down just real quick and say, when's the last time you went out and looked at a house?
Well, yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yep.
Okay. When's the next time you're going to go out and look at a house?
Tomorrow.
All right. So when's the last time Bryan looked at a house? Yesterday. When's the next time I'm going to go look at a house? What time is it? We've got an appointment at 1 o'clock today to go look at a house. I don't know right off the top of my head if it's a refinance or a purchase, but it's one of those two things. So I'm like you. I'm a practicing appraiser. And I think, SKAP, for you and for it kind of helps us when we speak at events or try to provide some sort of educational offering, in that we're out there doing what our audience is doing on a regular basis. Do you find that to be true? Can you keep more in tune with the working appraiser because you are a working appraiser? Is that fair?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I find that when people get out of the profession, and we've seen it many times, and I see it a lot in my 100% group when people come in, they were working as a reviewer for a long time. So now they have a hard time getting back into the profession, understanding all the new things that are going on. Whereas the ones that are out there every single day doing, the boots on the ground stuff, actually doing the inspections, doing the reports, doing everything from start to finish, you relate with them better and you understand them better. So you're able to, help them out more or answer their questions or just be in tune with them. And that's really cool to have, because for so long, this profession was just before, obviously social media, Zoom and everything. It was, you just kind of was by yourself, maybe you knew one or two appraisers. Maybe you just talked to your supervisor that you had, or mentor. But now you really can start working and doing a lot more and being more interactive with people and people like yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. We had a little group many, I mean, this is decades ago. There were about 4 appraisers, and we would get together one Saturday morning, once a month. So that was our little appraiser meeting, right? And we were all competitors, but we were friendly competitors. And we met and had breakfast and talked about appraisal issues. And back then, I mean, we didn't know any better. We would exchange data. I mean, I wouldn't tell you what I appraised something for, but I would give you the characteristics of a house I appraised that was a purchase. And SKAP, I think that helped obviously the other appraisers in the group, because now you were relying on data from the appraiser as opposed to an MLS or assessor. And to further that story, my trainee just came in right before we went on this broadcast. And I said, tell me about the property. So she and I are working on an appraisal on a house. We both went and looked at it. She found a sale that was a non-MLS sale. She said, we need a picture anyway. She said, I'll run out and grab the picture. And she said, I'm fine with knocking on the door and interviewing them. I said, oh, awesome. Do it. So I just had a conversation with her. She knocked on the door and she said, by the way, Bryan, the lady that bought the house knows you. I'm like, oh my goodness, she knows me. She said, yes, she knew who you were. She runs a title company here in town. And lo and behold, her sister is an appraiser and was there. And their dad is an appraiser who I know. And so Kelsey was able to interview, and they actually let her in, walked around the house a little bit. And so we feel really good about the data we've got now, because she did a personal interview with the buyer and a personal observation of that property. But anyway, we would get together and we would exchange that data. And I think that we benefited as practitioners. I think our clients benefited, because I think everyone would agree the better data you have, the better decision you can make, right? And so I think we benefited as appraisers, our clients benefited, and I think the community, the public benefited. Unfortunately, that breakfast, I call it the breakfast club, we kind of fell by the wayside. But now with, as you said, Zoom and social media and whatnot, it is a way for us to get connected. And I know we got a lot to talk about today, but that's one of the things we talked about in the podcast was staying connected. Now, I know Zoom, maybe your trade magazines, things like that try to help you. Maybe you join an association or organization, which is we always encourage. But tell us a little bit about your group. You started a group. You've got a few thousand members, I believe. Tell our listeners or our viewers right now a little bit about your group, what it is, and how they could get involved if they wanted to.
All right. So the group that I started, excuse me, was back in 2014. I started the 100% Real Estate Appraisers group. This was a Facebook group that the concept behind it was there are other groups out there. There were bigger ones than mine and a lot of other ones out there. But however, they never really kind of left it for just appraisers. Okay. They allowed anybody just to come walking on in and, be a member. So you could be a lender, an AMC, an appraiser, I mean, there were people selling sunglasses consistently, doing sunglasses ads in there. So it just hit me that we needed a place, you know, and at this point in time, I was starting to get more involved in the profession, as far as, you know, trying to help the profession. And I decided to start this group. So I did that, and I made it so that it was just for the independent appraiser. Okay. So, you know, a lot of people will come at me and say, well, why isn't it for just every appraiser? Well, independent appraisers, we're kind of like loners, I would say. We kind of work for ourselves. You know, we have some employees here and there. You may have some trainees, but you're just by yourself. Whereas if you're a staff appraiser, you have a lot of other people behind you, a lot of people you can talk with. It was just, I needed a place for just the independent appraiser to share info, to talk about things, to vent. You know, it started out as a good place for us to start talking about AMCs and who's good, who's bad. You know, hey, do you have any info on this or this company or how to do this? And it's evolved over the years to where now it's more of a helping group where you got appraisers, 3,000 appraisers approximately from across the country, independent appraisers. And they're all coming there to ask a question or to give answers to help somebody that is looking to get an answer to something. So you're getting these really cool discussions. Like, you know, somebody in Seattle says, hey, you know, I've got this property here. It's got this mountain view. You know, how would you deal with this? Well, now you're getting people from the East Coast, Florida, you know, all these people all over the place that are just commenting about how they would go about it. But then you're getting people from that actual area itself that are commenting as well to try and help you best kind of figure out what you're looking at and how they can help you to figure out how to make that adjustment or solve that problem. And then, of course, there's a lot of discussions that go on about all the rule changes, you know, anything that happens in the appraisal profession. I could tell you right now, we know about it in our group before pretty much anybody else. Because as soon as somebody hears about it, boom, it's posted. And you know what's going on, you know what to expect, you know where to go to get even further information. And that's the beauty of the group, is that we've become a good tight-knit community to help, but also share information, which couldn't really do back in the day.
It's a pretty active group. You have stuff on there every day, I assume.
Absolutely. I mean, almost every hour.
Very cool. Very cool. So a couple of things you said and you know, about helping one another, because we are independent. I mean, appraisers are independent by definition. You know, it's hard for us to come together. But what's interesting, and maybe you and I can chat about some of this offline as well. You've got a good pool of folks that I mean, there's an opportunity to do market surveys, and people argue all the time, well, appraisers aren't actually market participants. They analyze the actions of market participants. And while that's true, they're not primary market participants, right? That'd be the buyer, the seller, you know, that kind of thing. They are secondary market participants, and they're analyzing the actions of those market participants. So anyway, you probably have some you've got such a good audience there in large numbers. You might be able to do some market survey techniques and extract some stuff. I know my friend Scott Cullen has some software, and one of the things he does is surveys, and he'll do them around the country. What's an in-ground pool worth in your client, in your geographic location, and it's amazing. Those results are pretty consistent, depending on what area of the country you're in, right? Up north, probably not as much. Down south, if you don't have a pool, you're not typical of the neighborhood in some markets, you know. So we're going to get into some of the specific questions that your group has and maybe some of the hot topics. I'm kind of interested to know what's been floating around there lately. And I don't know, Skap, maybe you and I can solve all the appraisal problems of the here in the next 45 minutes.
I do not have the energy to solve everybody's problems. Trust me. I've tried doing that. I've tried doing that before, and that's not, I'm getting away from that. I'm here to help, but I ain't solving problems.
I was with Jeff Bradford and a couple of guys down in Charleston earlier this year before COVID hit. And I made a comment like that. Yeah, just tried to solve all the problems, you know. So here's the crazy idea I had, and I'm going to pull Ben in here a minute. And he's having a bad hair day, so people might not get to see him. I don't know. We'll see how brave he is. But I just had a crazy idea, and I certainly don't want to steal your spotlight, Skap, and we're going to focus on you today. And if maybe we go over a couple of minutes, if I can hold you hostage a little extra. But I just got the crazy idea. Wouldn't it be kind of cool to have a live studio audience today, right? We've got a lot of people watching. People watch these on the YouTube channel. We'll have, a couple thousand folks end up watching this more than likely. So I don't know. Would you, if you had to take a guess right now, Skap, do you think you have any of your people from your 100% appraiser group watching this broadcast this morning?
I'm pretty sure there's probably a couple of them watching. How many? I don't know. I mean, again, they're all independent appraisers. They're probably working their butts off right now. So, I mean, I hope that's what they're doing.
We'll catch the recorded version, right? Yeah. So I know there's a chat going on that I can't see right now. If any of you want to ask a question during this broadcast, you send that over to Ben, and he copies those over to us. So feel free to ask questions throughout the broadcast. And we're going to get into some topics here in a minute that might be a little controversial. And I anticipate we'll get some a rise out of some people before we're done here today. But Ben, I want you to spring into action. And here's what I want to do. Let's invite 5 people to join us. Is that enough, Skap? Five, 6, 7 people. I'd like to have a live studio audience today, Ben. So if you guys are watching right now and you would like to join in the conversation, we've never done this before. I don't know that anybody's ever done this before. And the thought just came in my mind. So I'm kind of hitting Ben. I know Ben's like, dang it, Bryan, shut up. But we like to be different. So if anybody's watching right now and you would like to participate in the discussion, all right, what we'll do is we'll have Ben send you a little link, and the first 5, 6, 7 people that want to join in, we'll include you in a live studio audience. So if anybody's watching, raise your hand or say, pick me, or whatever you want to do. Or Skap, if you've got somebody that you want to send a special invite to, let Ben know.
I'll need their email, Bryan.
Yeah. So all of you watching, whoever wants to, say, pick me, and give your email, and Ben will send you an invite. And we're only going to do this for like the first 5 people, maybe 7 people, something like that. And we're actually going to invite you into the room, into the conversation. And these are real appraisers, right? And we're having a real discussion with real appraisers today. Skap's one, I'm one. Let's bring in a live studio audience. So who wants to be in? Let Ben know ASAP, and we'll get you in the room here within the next, I don't know, few minutes, or maybe at the halfway mark. So, all right, Skap, back to you. Let's talk about what is the most recent topic that you've had on your, pull up your Facebook page and look right now if you have to, but tell me, what's the most recent comment that has gotten some activity in your group?
There's so much. It varies, but obviously, okay, I'll just put it out for fun's sake. One of the hot topics is me making sure that the rules are enforced in my group. Okay. There's a lot of people that come in and they don't pay attention to the rules that we have set up, but yeah.
And hey, maybe let me pause you right there. Maybe don't give us, if you have 75 rules, we don't have time for that, but what are your 5 top rules of the group? That's great. Tell us what your 5 top
is to respect everyone's privacy. No hate or bullying speak, within the group. If you do, you get in trouble. To be kind and courteous to everybody. No political talk. None. The only political talk that is allowed is if it's appraisal or appraisal related. Some kind of bill that's going through, or somebody makes a comment about doing something with the appraisal profession, but that is, that's probably one of my biggest ones. And then obviously it's, rules are rules, follow them. Don't be sharing all sorts of stuff outside of from in the group to other places outside the group. And that kind of falls back into respecting everybody's privacy. So,
okay.
It's hard to really enforce things like that, but you hope that people are professionals and they're grown adults and they can, just actually abide by them.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we've got a couple of questions and comments coming in. We'll get to those in just a second. If I were to say, in the last few days, what has been part of the subject matter of one of your posts that has gotten a lot
I'm
of
pretty
traction?
sure you already know what I'm going to say.
No, I have no idea what you're going to say.
Well, then you aren't following the news and everything. Obviously the really big hot topic has been the New York Times article that came out about a couple in Jacksonville that had their home appraised and then didn't, agree with it and had it reappraised again. And it was based upon that there was some racism going on within the appraisal profession with an appraiser. I personally don't want to really get into that because that's just not my thing. However, it is a big topic right now within the profession but there's so many, what I will say about it is to everybody out there that's listening or has read the articles, there's just so many unknowns. It's a one-sided article. There's just so many unknowns with it. Can it happen? Sure. Did it happen? We don't know. So I think when all the facts actually finally do come out, then we'll be able to really discuss it more. But to discuss it now really makes no sense. You're not going to really get anywhere with it.
Yeah. I do know what you're talking about. And no, I did not know you were going to bring that up. But if that's a hot topic, that's a hot topic.
It is.
For those that don't know what he's talking about, it was a couple, I guess, has kind of made an announcement, and did they file a complaint? I'm not sure exactly what they've done, but there was an appraisal done, and they didn't think that the appraisal was credible, that the value was not well supported, I guess is a nice way to say that. And so they got another appraisal, right? And they removed any information or pictures or whatever they had in their house that they thought might create a bias. And another appraiser came out and appraised the property, and it was substantially higher. Is that it in a nutshell, SKAP? Am I saying this right?
That's completely it.
And the differences in opinion were substantial, weren't they?
Like 40% or something like that.
Yeah. It was a very significant difference. And so the couple, I believe, and I don't want to misquote anything, so I'm kind of tiptoeing around this because I don't have all the facts myself, but I believe they're making an accusation that it was a racial issue as to why the first appraisal came in substantially lower than the second appraisal. That's kind of the story.
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and I think you're wise to say that it very well could be. I mean, their claims may have validity. We don't know, but I think the judge and jury doesn't have, and I'm saying that, not literally, but the jury's out in that we don't know all the facts, right? We don't know all the specifics. We certainly understand their claim. It may have merit. It may not have merit. We really don't know. So yeah, well, I bet that is getting a lot of attention.
But here's something that kind of ties into being a part of the group and the group atmosphere and the dynamic of it, as opposed to just, waiting to read your news articles and not really being a part of any groups or anything, is that you get to see what a lot of people say, and you get to see what a lot of different opinions from appraisers out there that are part of this. And you kind of, start looking at it in a different way where you kind of say, okay, well, this is an issue. No matter what, whether it's right or wrong, it's an issue. And this is an issue that appraisers are going to have to, work with going forward right now. And, now you can start getting discussions like, how do you deal with this? How do you work with this? What do you plan on doing to combat this? Or, or what, on your inspections, how are you going to do things? Are you going to do anything differently? So this is something that being on a part of a group, you could start that discussion and start to maybe learn from other people, start to learn things and see how things go.
Yeah. It's tough. So you've gotten there's been a tremendous array of commentary on that topic, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of blown up all over the place. So yeah, that's one of them. But to move off of that one into a different one, actually, my buddy TP right here, who's part of my group and my coaching classes, he has his topic here, which I was going to be my next topic,
Okay.
which is multiple offers above the list price and appraisals coming in low. You know, that's what the trend seems to be going on all over the country right now. And you're getting lots of multiple offers, you know, situations now. So people are trying to, where you didn't have to really deal with it in the last couple of years. Now there's with the inventory so low, you're getting these multiple offer situations, and you're getting the agents out there saying, hey, I got 5 offers above list price, you know?
Yeah.
So you're getting a lot of appraisers out there now trying to learn and figure out how to deal with those type of situations. So, you know, it's a big topic and a big concern right now with a lot of appraisers.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let's talk about that. You know, I'm a real estate agent too, and I just had this happen to me, and we offered a price above list price. And now the difference is my buyer was bringing in a ton of cash. I mean, 75% of the monies were paid in cash. So she wanted this house. It had been on the market. It came off the market, and then it came back on. And she's like, oh my gosh, I want this house. And we went and looked at it. We made a full price offer, no concessions. She didn't have a house to sell. And lo and behold, we got notification of a multiple offer situation. And so we bumped that offer up. And I'll just tell you, because I know, you know, I've talked to her and she's fine with, she has nothing to hide here, and she knew we were doing this today. But she texted me that night and she said, okay, she wanted to bump it more, like $4,000 more. And then within 5 seconds, she sent me another text, Skap, and said, I want to bump it again. And it was $20,000 more. And I waited till the next morning, and I called her and I said, I would just call her Miss B. Miss B, I can't, you know, we can go build you a new house for that kind of money, you know, this. And I didn't say the house wasn't worth it. I wasn't going to go down that road. I had my real estate hat on, but I certainly wouldn't be having her best interest in mind if I had done that. And we had a conversation, said, let's just, you know, you've got a fair offer in now. It could be a little high, but you know, you really want the house. You're willing to pay that. If you get it, great. If not, let's find something else. And she ended up getting it. And, but yeah, so what are you finding appraisers, or, you know, are they letting that information? I know that's the current market. That's the actions of market participants. You got one listed at 150, and now you got multiple offers coming in and it sold for 159. Are appraisers feeling pressured to try to, you know, our job is not to support a sale price. Our job is to develop an independent, unbiased. In fact, I always encourage people, don't look at the contract until you've already formulated your opinion. USPAP requires you to analyze the sales agreement. And that's one thing I wish we didn't do. I wish we didn't get a copy of the contract. But what are most of the appraisers in your group? How are they handling that? I mean, what have they had to say?
And that's the beautiful dynamic of being a part of something like this, again, is you're getting a lot of different answers from a lot of different people. Most of them are very consistent with each other. A lot of people are saying, look, you're appraising for market value. You know, you don't worry. Don't let that affect what you're doing, but keep in mind, you know, with that multiple situation, you might want to keep in mind that, you know, that's kind of driving the market a little bit. So when you do your reconciliation, maybe you kind of reconcile it to the higher end a little bit, you know, because of these motivations and what's going on. But you get a lot of different answers from a lot of different people. But again, most appraisers are really kind of spot on, and they're just trying to give you different ways to kind of see things from their point of view, or from a realtor point of view, which, you know, really just gets you thinking. It gets you thinking. You know, I responded and said, hey, market value is market value. Use the sales that you have in your subdivision before you start going all over the place trying to support that contract price, because that's not your job. Your job is to support the market value of the property. If somebody wants to pay 20 grand more for a house, well, then fine, bring the cash, or find a way to pay that money over 20 grand over, because that's their motivation. You know, I kind of use my younger brother as an experiment, or you know, he paid, paid a little more for his house, you know, but that was the motivation. The motivations are to, get into a certain school district, or you got to be here, or you really want that house. So those are the kind of things that you need to do and take into consideration. But you can't consider what people's motivations are. It's almost impossible. So support the market value.
Yeah. This lady, she probably paid or may have paid a premium, but that's she had been looking for a long time. She had the cash in pocket. This is the house she wanted. She was willing to pay that price for it. Well, that doesn't mean, that, and clearly there was someone else, at least two market participants, willing to pay a higher price. But our job isn't to look at the actions of one market participant or even two market participants. Our job is to look at what the typical market participant would do, right? So appraisers, don't get yourself backed into a corner with that. We got a couple of folks, Mary and Chris, have asked again for the name of your group. So give that, and let's do this. Ben, can we put a link in the chat?
Yeah, to join this meeting.
To join his, or a link to his Facebook group.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it may be private. So, no, you should be able to find it. See if you can find it first, and then if not, let me know. And but it's for everybody out there. It's the name of the group is called 100% Real Estate Appraiser. So 100 with the percent sign, Real Estate Appraisers. It's in Facebook. When you ask to join, you're going to answer some questions. Please answer the questions. If you don't, you're not getting in. That's just kind of the rule. I don't have time to kind of track you down and everything. Answer the questions to help me make it a little bit easier for me. I do still vet you. I make sure you're an independent appraiser. I make sure I check your LinkedIn. I check around. It's just kind of what I do and my vetting process that I've had since I started this group. And then once you're in, you're in. Enjoy it.
Very cool. Very cool. Tell them real quick, what is the vetting process?
So once you ask to join, there's 3 questions you have to answer. First one is, your license number, then the state you're in, and are you a member of an AMC? Because we don't allow AMCs in our group. And the last question is, do you agree to abide by the rules of the group? So you answer those. Then once I get that together, I will go and look, like I said, I'll go look at your LinkedIn. I'll Google you. I'll Google your business. I want to make sure that you are really an actual appraiser, and I'll go and check your license number on the ASC website to make sure that you're active, or make sure you are an appraiser. So there's a lot that goes into it, and it takes some time, but you know what? It's that little extra effort that helps make the group unique. Yeah. That's a pretty thorough vetting process. I mean, that's probably more than some of the AMCs to put you on their panel, right? Well, trust me, if you saw the people that try to join the group and they answer questions, there's some people that try to get in and they put in fake license numbers, fake business names. And if you're just going by that and just letting them in, well, then you're really not doing your job for your group members. So I like to go a little bit overboard. I got it. Let's address a couple more questions, and then we're gonna be right at about our midway point already. Can't believe it. But here we go. Michael says, pet peeve: appraisals don't come in low. They come in at value, an appraiser's opinion of value. Someone else's expectation or need does not equate to value. I guess that was a comment. I agree with that. And we talk about, I want to remind our viewers that, lender pressure or client pressure comes in all shapes, sizes, and forms. I mean, normally it's like, hey, make the number here. I'm dangling this carrot here. And you got a young guy in this business. He's got a mortgage. He's got a girlfriend. They're both past due. It's hard not to reach out and grab that carrot, right? But you've got to do the right thing. When you cross that ethical line, you can't
get back. I mean, you've crossed it, and you got to be real careful with that. So if you had a client that said, "Hey, SKAP, I'm a president of the credit union, and we're lending out our members' money. And listen, SKAP, anytime I send you an appraisal, I want you just to be real conservative, right?" Guys, that's pressure.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to, as Michael said, you're not supposed to appraise them low or high. You're supposed to appraise them what you genuinely, in your heart, what you genuinely think that property is worth. That's your job. And if you're not doing that, if you're letting that president influence you, or you're letting a piece of paper known as a purchase agreement, piece of paper influence you, then you're not adhering to the definition of an appraiser, one who is to act independently. Now, with that in mind, SKAP, we have this question. I'll let you dive in on this one. James says, what about inflating? If we don't increase the appraisal based on the offer, aren't we going against the free market? What's your thoughts on that question James has?
That's a good question. I mean, again, like you just said, as an appraiser, you have to be able to support your value. You have to support your appraisal report. You just can't just start increasing things just because of other motivations that are out there that you are unaware of. If you don't have the data, how can you how can you just magically just say, "Hey, I'm going, I got an offer for 350,000 on this home. The contract's 350. But man, all my comps are telling me, it's around 330, 335, in the area. I don't understand, because then you find out they have 5 or 6, over contract offers. I mean, what are the motivations for these people? I mean, how do you base that? I mean, I think the market kind of does what the market does. If somebody really wants the house, they're going to actually increase the value of that property by paying a little extra for cash, and that helps increase that property's value. And moves it up monetarily wise. But I mean, I don't know. I personally am not looking to inflate anything, deflate anything. I'm just looking at the data that I have in front of me. And if somebody else can prove me wrong on my data, or gives me some kind of information to help, make the changes that's actually worthwhile, well then, yeah, I'll use that information. But that's all I can do. I can't just guess.
I think what James brings up is interesting, and I think it opens up different avenues for conversation that, maybe we really need to go back and take a second look at our analysis. Maybe there's something we've missed. Well, you're using older sales. Well, maybe we missed a time adjustment. Because I know in my market right now, properties that sold a year ago, if they were offered today, they would probably sell for significantly more. So if you're using a comp that's 12, 13, 14 months old, you might need to be making a time adjustment, right? You need to support that with an analysis of the market. But at the end of the day, James, I think you do that. I had a student in a live class say to me, we were having this exact conversation. And the student said, "Well, Bryan, who am I?" And I said, "What do you mean, who am I?" He said, "Well, who am I?" He said, "I got a willing buyer. I got a willing seller, right? Both acting in what they feel is their own best interest. They come together and have a meeting of the minds. Who am I to question that?" That's what the student said to me. And I walked over to the student and I said, "You are the valuation expert. Why are you putting more credence in the action in the actions of one market participant, the buyer in this case, right? Why are you putting more relevance on that one person's actions when you're the expert? You're supposed to be analyzing not what one person's doing, but what the typical market participant would be." And guys, if we're going to just look at the sale price and appraise it for that, guess what? We're no longer needed. Fannie Mae once said, if 95% of the appraisals come in at the sale price or higher, why do we need appraisers? And that's a really good question. Why don't they just start making loans based on the sale price and cut the appraiser out? If that's all you're going to do, if you're going to rubber stamp it, you're irrelevant. So don't be irrelevant. What you do is very important. You have such an important function. Most of these consumers, it's the biggest asset they'll ever have in their entire life. So recognize your own value and don't discount it. Certainly don't put the actions of one market participant over your level of expertise in analyzing the typical market participant. We got more questions coming in before we get there. We're at the halfway mark already, halfway point. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching the Appraisal Report webinar brought to you by the fine folks of Appraiser eLearning. These are brought to you the fourth Thursday of every month, free. It's a great price, isn't it? It's absolutely free. These are at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time. If you would like to be a guest or you know someone that would make a good guest, please reach out to Ben Maxwell and let him know, and we'll do our best to get them on the program. Or if you would like to be on the program, let us know and we'll give you a platform. We love to have working appraisers on, and SKAP does more than just out there pulling a tape or shooting a laser, but he still does that. He looked at a house yesterday. He's going to look at one tomorrow. I looked at one yesterday. I'm looking at another one today after this broadcast. So we love having appraisers on, practicing appraisers on. I think they can relate more to what you do on a day-to-day basis because they do what you do. Finally, all of these sessions are recorded. So if you can't stay for the entirety, you can kind of click back on another time and watch that on YouTube. And you're watching us via YouTube right now. So what we would ask that you do is go ahead and hit the subscribe button. That kind of keeps you in the know. Every once in a while, we'll have a special edition webinar, and those could occur at any point in time. So we took care of James. SKAP, here is a question from Amy. Amy is saying, can you please define member of an AMC? I work for them, but I am independent. Thank you, Amy, for that great question.
Then you are acceptable to be in the group. When I say AMC, I'm talking about working directly, like as a staff appraiser for an AMC. If you are working directly and getting, as a staff appraiser for, say, any one of those AMCs out there. If you're independent and you're working for them, like most of us do, that's fine, as long as you're just not a staff appraiser for them. The reason being is, again, anything can happen in these groups and information get put all over the place, but we've had it happen in the past where we've had an appraiser get in trouble because somebody from the AMC, a staff appraiser, saw something they didn't like and reported it. And so we try to just keep all the drama away. And it just became, again, I didn't know at this point in time that this person actually left being independent to work as a staff appraiser. So we try to keep up with things as best we can, but I hope that explains why. But yeah, you're allowed in as long as you're independent.
Come on in, Amy. Mark, what's your favorite number?
14.
14. Okay, so let's do a discount code. In our podcast the other day, you said, "Hey, everybody's asking for a discount code for some other nasty company." I don't know. I'm kidding. But we want to extend a discount code. So Benjamin, can you do that for me? Can you make a discount code for SKAP 14? SKAP 14. And when can you have that up, Ben? Like
in 3 seconds.
Man, that's pretty quick. 3 seconds.
How much you want?
$9,000 off.
$9,000 off. Yeah. And you get a brand new car. No, now see, if we had people come to my live studio audience, maybe they would have had that chance, but nobody wants to be with SKAP today. I think they're scared of you, SKAP. I don't know.
It could be a lot of different reasons why. Who knows?
I thought that would be fun. I wanted a live studio audience, and I guess sometimes we shouldn't do things off the cuff like that because you get no takers, right? All right, we got another question, and while these questions are coming in, I say let's just keep taking them, SKAP, if you're okay with that.
Hey, I'm good with anything.
If you got anything else you want to go on, again, there's no script. We can go down any road you want to, brother. But Margie's asking a question. I love the interaction. I love I love folks asking questions, and if we have an answer, we answer. If not, guess what? We're going to say we don't know the answer. We'll try and find somebody smarter than the two of us to get an answer, and then we get to learn something too. It's a learning opportunity for us, so we get excited about that. But Margie is asking this: the current market, where current market for months, days on market, is 0, 3, 6, and 7. Definition of market value related to exposure. Do you consider them adequately, openly exposed? And Margie, I wish you were here in our live studio audience, because I'd ask for a little clarity on that question.
I think she's kind of asking with the days on the market, with the homes that are, right now homes on the market are at 0 days, 3 days, 6 days, 7 days. I think she's asking if those amount of days would be considered adequately exposed or openly exposed on the market. I think that's just, I really can't answer that question. I mean, I think it's kind of depend on your market, number one, but number two, I think the way that the market is right now, with inventory being down, I mean, can you say no? I mean, they're putting them out there, and people are actively looking to buy homes, and that's why you're getting a lot of these multiple offer situations. But if they're out there for 3, 6, 7 days, maybe the exposure time has to come down now. Maybe that's just what your market is. I mean, that's the best answer I can give you.
Yeah, I think, Margie, what my opinion is, just my opinion. I believe that if you have market data that suggests that your market is so hot right now that if properties are competitively priced, that they sell in 7 days or less, that is your exposure time. I absolutely would say that's your exposure time. We have a conversation about liquidation value, right? Liquidation value or quick sale value or whatever you want to call it. Normally, what happens when a car lot is closing and they say liquidation sale? Well, that means they're discounting those prices to sell those cars very, very quickly. Yes. Well, if I called you up, let's say I own 2 houses. I own one in SKAP's area, and let's say that it takes 3 to 4 months to sell a house. And then, Margie, I own a house in your market where houses are selling at 7 days or less if they're competitively priced. And I call you up and I say, Margie, SKAP, I own a house in your market, both your markets, and I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm going to Costa Rica. I want these things. I want to sell them as quickly as I possibly can. In SKAP's market, where it takes 3 to 4 months to sell a house, what would I have to do to sell my house quickly, like in 3 or 4 days or a week or 2 weeks? I would have to discount that price, because competitively priced homes are taking 3 to 4 months to sell, right? So I would have to do a discount, and SKAP's going to get the big money to try and figure out what that discount is for my anticipated sale price. I didn't call it market value, because it's not market value. It's a liquidation value or anticipated sale price. But in Margie's market, when I call Miss Margie and I say, Margie, how much do I have to discount my price in order to sell a house in a week, 2 weeks in your market? There would be 0 discount, wouldn't there? Because if your houses are flying off the shelf in 7 days or less, I don't have to apply any discount. I can just competitively price it and it's going to sell. So in that example, liquidation value would equate to market value, because the time frame is within the time frame I asked for to get these things quickly sold. Okay. A couple other questions. Mark, I don't know if you use this. Mary is asking a question. What do you think about using Appraiser Genie or Spark? Do you?
I use Spark. I've been using it now for a couple years. I've never used Appraiser Genie. I know they're kind of the same. I know there's Data Master out there as well, which is also on the same lines. I think it's just, I prefer Spark. That's just my thing, but I think you need to kind of explore your options, maybe try them all out, find one that's best for you. I know that some MLSs don't work with Spark or work with maybe Appraiser Genie or Data Master. So you kind of got to find what works for you in the area that you're in. Try them out, find out which ones works best for you. But I will say this, having that comp importer that, like a Spark or Appraiser Genie or Data Master, oh my God, it saves you so much time when you're doing a report. If you don't have even if you have people working for you, just to be able to select your comps on MLS, have them just zip them in really quick, and then they just appear in your report, and you just got to go through and just double check all the information, make the changes that are necessary. It's so much of a time saver. I wish I would have known about this years ago, but I've only been using it now for maybe about 3-4 years. So highly suggest.
Yeah, we use that as well. We've had Data Master on a couple of webinars, so you guys can go back. If you look on our YouTube channel, you'll see all the webinars we've done with the guest we've had, and you can go back and watch those. Those are complimentary; they're free. We've actually got a few paid training webinars. We had Peter Christensen and Craig Capella on, and it was a 2-hour paid. I think it was about $50. Now you can go back and watch the recorded session if you want. It's been one of those like $29 or something like that. And the cool thing about that is Peter gives the appraisers recommended language to put in their appraisal reports to try and protect them. I'll show you. I'll share my screen real quick.
And while you're talking about that, really quick, back to Mary here, who said, Appraiser Genie for adjustments and stuff, as opposed to Spark. I'll say this as well. Spark is actually developing something like that as well as we speak to put into their Spark for the 1004 MC and in Comp Importer as well. So they are working on something like that, and I believe it's all going to be released, or it's going to be packaged in. I know ANOW, I'm a big ANOW guy, is coming out with their form filler software very shortly as well. I love ANOW, so I'm going to give a little plug to ANOW just because they're my boys. But Spark, and I think Data Master at some point is going to be integrated with the new ANOW software. So pretty cool stuff coming out from a lot of different companies in a lot of different ways. So definitely stay tuned for a lot of these new things that are coming out.
All right. So let me just share this real quick, just because I mentioned it. I want to show people how they can get it. If you go to the Appraiser eLearning website and you click under publication and events and under training webinars, there's 4 or 5 in there. Now, these are non-credit and they were recorded, so the price has been reduced, obviously. This was Josh Wallet. We went over one of he's got some software regarding regression analysis, and that kind of shows you how to run through that. Here's the interactive consultation with the attorneys. And the cool thing about this is they took one of I think it was Tim Anderson. He's on here watching, I think. Tim had suggested, Bryan, why don't you give them one of your engagement letters and let them critique it online? And I'm like, oh, no. And then I said, you know what? Okay, why not? And so I did, SKAP. I put it up there, and at least Peter had a few nice things to say. He says, very professional looking. And then he gave me some recommendations. He said, Bryan, would you have on here that if you're called to court, that the client agrees to pay you? I said, of course. He said, what if you're subpoenaed? What if the other side makes you show up for court? Don't you want to be paid? Of course I want to be paid. So he suggested, let's put some language in there. If anybody calls you to court on this assignment, you're going to receive brilliant, so guess what? I'm taking his advice and I'm adding that. So in that one, you can kind of go through and see. There's one on square footage with HAMP. There's our buddy Scott Cullen. So those are all available if anybody's interested in those. I just wanted to take a second since we were talking about those. So what other questions? Somebody said you appraised their house. I don't know.
I appraised someone's brother's home last year, and he says I'm a 5-star appraiser. So I appreciate that, William. That was a pleasure.
Oh yeah, 5-star. Yeah,
a lot of fun.
I didn't get his little thing there. I didn't know if he's complaining or not, but you're right. That was a compliment. 5-star appraiser. Congratulations, Mr. 5-star appraiser.
I try my best. I mean, I try.
All right. And then Mary makes another comment about Spark, talking about the 1004 MC, the neighborhood trend, that type of stuff. So no problem there. So we've gotten into a couple of hot topics. What else? Give me another. Let me, before we do that, let's go this route. Are you ready?
Go right ahead.
Okay, let's go this route. You know, I said a moment ago, man, I wish we didn't have to analyze sales agreements. You know, back in the good old days when we'd appraise something and it didn't appraise for the sale price, it went back to, right, the realtors and ultimately the buyer and seller, and they say, hey, what do you want to do? We can go get another opinion, and a lot of times they have another meeting of the minds and they might bring it down. They might not. The seller and the buyer's got to come up with that cash. I had one I'll never forget. The lady called me. I got permission from the client. Can I talk to her? Yes. And she said, Brian, we've been looking and looking. And this wasn't when we had a housing shortage or anything else. She just couldn't find what she wanted. And she said, I've been looking and looking and looking. And this house over here in Thoroughbred Acres is exactly, I mean, it's perfect. We don't even have to change the paint color. We can move right in. But, you know, you appraised it for $5,000 less than the sale price. And I said, you know, you certainly can go get another opinion. She said, well, I called another appraiser and over the phone, he said, you know, he respected you and didn't think he'd probably be able to do any better than you have. But she said, we really, really, really want the house. And I said, then buy it. You know, this is just my opinion. But I said, if I'm going to sign my name to this, I've got to have adequate support. And I don't. This is where I'm comfortable. This is what I think what I genuinely think that it's worth. Now, if you look historically, the prices have went up in that neighborhood, but they might not continue. You don't get a written guarantee when you buy a house. It could go back down. And so they did. They went back and had a meeting of the minds, and they met in the middle. SKAP, the seller came down $2,500, and the buyer had to come up with an additional $2,500 out of pocket to buy that property and move forward. And that's exactly what they did.
I agree with you as far as like the contract thing. I mean, my biggest thing is I always look at the contract price last.
Yeah.
I do my report. I pull up my comps. I do everything. I try as hard as I can not to look at that contract price until the very end. But yeah, I do still think analyzing the contract has its benefits because you could see a lot of different things that may be thrown into the sale. Furniture is being thrown in. This is being so I think it's good to see all of that and know, okay, what type of concessions are going to be, put in there. But I think they can do it where you don't see the contract price. You blur that sucker out, but leave everything else in there.
Yeah,
and
they could provide.
Let me do the job.
They could provide you all of that information without providing you the sale price, right? And I agree. There are reasons why we need to analyze it. There's several. If you're buying the house subject to the installation of hardwood flooring, I mean, I need to know that because you're not buying what I see today. And we probably need to make that appraisal subject to the installation of hardwood flooring, right? But there's one really, really, really big reason not to see that sale price, and that's so appraisers won't let that make them lean a certain way. That's my daughter bought her first house many years ago, and my ex-wife called me up and she said, I'm helping your daughter write this agreement. And she said, I put in there subject to a home inspection. I said, well, that's probably pretty good. We put in there, subject to whatever. She said, we also put in there subject to the property appraising for the sale price or greater. And I said, oh, you can probably take that out of there. She said, oh my God, of every person on the planet, you're the last person I thought I'd ever hear say that. And I said, I'm so confident that this thing will appraise for the sale price or higher. If it doesn't, I'll stroke you a check for the difference. Now she was buying this for $60,000, Mark. It was not on the market. It's a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath over on Lewis Lane. And the elderly couple selling it inherited it. They didn't need a house. They found out my daughter was a young kid just about to get married. This was going to be they gave her this house. They didn't give it to her, but they gave her a heck of a deal. Are you with me? Oh, yeah. I don't know what it's worth. I haven't done an appraisal on it. I know at the time a bunch of houses around it were selling $80,000, $85,000. Guess what the property appraised for?
What?
$61,000 over the sale. Now that appraiser ought to be shot. Right? That appraiser ought to be shot. There's little doubt that they looked at that dang contract and it influenced them. And guys, whether it's high, low, whatever, there is no high, low. You develop your opinion. If you think it's worth $200,000, it doesn't matter if the sales contract's $300,000 or if the sales contract is 150, appraise it for the 200, right? Stand behind your work product. All right. So we both agree we'd like for that to change. What else would SKAP like to see changed in our industry? You know, you have a requirement on FHA to look in crawl spaces, in at it. You have to go take a comp photo. You have to whatever. What is the big hot topic on your Facebook group that you would be, I'd like for trainees to be able to do the inspection again? What are some of the things that you, SKAP, the appraiser, boots on the ground appraiser, would like to see changed in this profession?
Wow, put me on the spot here. This is pretty awesome. But I mean, I'm always honest, and I'm gonna continue to be that way. Obviously for me, number one, it's the whole AMC model. I mean, I do not like it. I don't like the way it's how they're paid. I don't like how they do things. I don't like how each separate company can do their own separate things and get away with, you know, there's really no set rules and regulations for them to follow and do things a certain way, kind of like we have to with USPAP and everything. So I'd like to see a really in-depth, you know, really big examination of how the AMCs operate, their model, how they collect their fees. It's just there's so much that needs to be looked at on that end. I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's not a ton of, you know, there's not a lot of bad AMCs out there. I mean, there are a lot of bad AMCs out there, but there are ones that I work with that are good and they work along with you. So, you know, but I still think the whole model itself, just the whole grand scheme, needs to be really, really scrutinized and looked at by the right people. And enough of this, you know, Riva and lobbying and all this other crap that's going on there, because, you know, obviously people like myself who, you know, everybody knows about my lawsuit with Coaster VMS. And a lot of people lost money there. A lot of people lost money from Appraisal Loft. A lot of people have lost money from other AMCs going out of business and collecting money, but nobody's really gotten to the bottom of it. And nobody's really dug in deep to figure something out with it. It's just all like a Band-Aid after a Band-Aid after a Band-Aid. And that's my biggest thing that I wish they can examine.
Yeah.
You know, as far as other things, yeah, obviously I'd like to see, you know, trainees being able to do more. You know, it seems like with the AMCs and everything, it's all certified appraisers. You know, Fannie and Freddie, you know, will say you can do certain things, but then they're trying to pull this hybrid stuff and let an inspector go out there. Well, what good is an inspector when you have a better trainee who understands the profession to go out there and do things?
Right.
If you did allow trainees to do more, if the AMCs paid properly, there would be more appraisers coming into this profession right now. There would be more appraisers out there willing to take on a trainee and train them properly and not care about anything else, whether they go off there on their own in a couple of years or not. But, you know, that's not happening. And that's why there's this appraiser shortage and all this other crappy narrative out there, because everybody's pushing for different things, but nobody's really solving the problem. And if they just allowed some things to happen, especially with trainees, it would make a huge difference. It really would.
Yeah. That's been a big pet peeve of mine is, you know, if you want to grow a business and if, listen, the majority of the appraisal community are independent sole practitioners. They work in their basement or in their bedroom or whatever they do. Some have offices, but they kind of do their own thing, you know, and we call it a one-man shop a lot of times. Right. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There can be a certain level of peace associated with that. You don't have to worry about meeting payroll and, you know, hey, am I losing an employee and now I got to retrain somebody out? It's just me. I do it all. Right. And I've had both hats on. I've been the guy where it's just been me. And now I build teams. Right. I believe wholeheartedly in having help. And that's probably just because I'm getting older and I don't want to do all the work. I want some help now. But, I mean, I would hire a bunch of trainees if I had the ability, and I'm not saying just bring them in, start sending them out. I'm saying work with them, get them trained, get them competent, right? Kelsey could go out by herself. Now, she hasn't met the state requirement to do that. So I go with her on every assignment. But soon she will reach that. And from a legal standpoint, she has the ability to go out. If I think she's competent, I'm not going to send her out to go look at a 12,000 square foot house, but a 1,200 square foot home, she could do that very easily, right? USPAP's okay with it. The state's okay with it. Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac's okay with it. But you get pushback from either an AMC or a lot of the lending community. And that is something that needs to change, because a business owner, you want to bring someone in that provides you value. And if they're not providing me value, why bring them on? Right. So yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, but it's, I know a lot of people here in Atlanta. I know a couple of good friends and peers of mine. They have trainees, but they also do like no AMC work. They do a lot of private stuff and a lot of other things. So they're allowed to do some things differently, especially with Georgia laws and stuff. They're allowed to do some different stuff. But I just think that if they really want to, I feel like the lender side, the Fannie Mae, the AMC side is all for trying to make other things happen. It's like they magically want to create the greatest and best next thing to come out in the valuation profession, when all they have to do is just say, hey, train somebody and they can go out and do whatever they want. And guess what? Especially in a time like now when we're so busy, appraisers are so busy. Myself, I can't handle everything. I'm turning down a lot of work. I could get an assistant to help me type stuff and everything. That's not going to really solve my problem. You know what would solve my problem? Being able to take a trainee on, train them the proper way, and then eventually say, hey, you know what? You've met these requirements. You can go out and do some of these private jobs for me while I'm out doing this work and save me the time. But it's just hard to do that right now.
Multiply that by 3, right? Yeah. And that helps you as a business owner. It helps the clients. It helps bring these folks into the profession. And it's a win-win all the way around. But no, let's create an environment where we send insurance agent out to do the inspection. You rely on that. Brilliant. That's brilliant. So yeah, I'm with you there, buddy. I'm with you there. Well, listen, we can talk all day long, and we're going to have you back, because I love talking to real appraisers that do real appraising, and you meet that definition. You do a whole lot more than that. I get it. But we'd love to have you back another time. We're at the end, brother. We're out of time. If somebody would like to hear you speak, or I know with COVID we're not really seeing each other in a live environment yet, but hopefully that's going to change next year. What do you got going on? You told me about some sort of little thing you do on Fridays, right?
Right here. It's called the Positive Adjustment Show. A good friend and peer of mine, Blaine Fayen, who also does his own coaching academy, the Real Value Coaching Academy, and he has his own podcast, the Real Value Podcast. Him and I teamed up, and we created the Positive Adjustments webinar / happy hour that we run every Friday on Zoom, and then we also broadcast it live into our Positive Adjustments Facebook group. So if you don't want to be on the Zoom call, you can just go and follow along live in the Facebook group, ask questions, learn from other appraisers. We encourage everybody. We have appraisers. We're trying to get some other people to come out there, business people. Blaine does a lot with business, so he understands it and teaches a lot. So it's a really cool end of the week episode. We usually go about maybe an hour and a half. Sometimes we've gone 2.5 hours just doing it. Lose track of time. But it's really good topics, lots of fun. Everybody can participate, no matter who you are. We just have a lot of fun with it.
How many people do you typically have on those?
I mean, I think the most we've ever had there at one point was about 50 something people. At one point, just like following through between Facebook and the Zoom. So it's still kind of new. I mean, we've been doing it a couple of weeks now. We record all the episodes, and they stay within the Facebook group. And then, hey, people just watch them when they can, but if they want to join in live, it's so much more fun to be in there live talking with us.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to say they're not a member of your group, or how about the staff appraiser with an AMC or bank that can't become a member of your group, but they wanted to participate in that, would they be open to? Okay. So anybody. So for that person, or people in your group, either way, how can they say, okay, well, tomorrow's Friday, I don't have anything going on, I'd like to sit in on that? How can they get into that?
Okay, so simple. Just if you have Facebook, which I hope most people do, you just go in there, look for the positive adjustments group, ask to join. You pretty much will get, accepted pretty quickly. It's all positivity. So you get in there, and then every Friday morning, we usually post the Zoom link. Every Friday, it starts at 4:00 Eastern time. It's always at 4:00. So you never have to worry about that, but you can always check to see if we're doing a show that day or not. Last week we did not. We had some things come up, but we will be doing one tomorrow.
So tomorrow at 4:00, is that Central Time or
Eastern time?
4:00 Eastern Time. All right. So 4:00 Eastern Time, positive adjustments. They'll be able to find you that way.
Correct.
Very cool. Very cool. Other than that, SKAP, if somebody just wants to reach out to you, they say, hey man, I've got a couple more questions for you, or I want to know more about how to do this. How can somebody reach out and get in touch with SKAP, the appraiser?
I mean, you can find my information pretty much anywhere. But the easiest way would probably be you can go, just send me an email to either skaptheappraiser@gmail.com, or you can send it to my business one, which is WIWAPP@gmail.com. I can type it out for you as well. And, or just go on my websites. You'll SKAP the Appraiser has skaptheappraiser.net has all of my information out there. All my phone number, emails, you name it. And if you're on Facebook, you can actually just look me up, private message me. You can find me anywhere.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, SKAP, thanks so much for being on. I'm traveling tomorrow afternoon, so I won't be able to hit your positive adjustments, but I am making a note that occurs every Friday or every other Friday, or however often you do it. And I plan on making one in the very near future. And maybe we'd have you back on. Maybe we'd have Blaine come on with you, have both of you on sometime. We'd love to do that. I've seen him on some other virtual events, so that's very cool. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been watching the Appraisal Report webinar brought to you by Appraiser eLearning. Don't forget the discount code SKAP14. Ben, what do we do on a discount for that?
It's a 20% off all courses until September 1st.
My Lord, he's giving away the farm. So 20% discount code SKAP14. Use it while you can. If you need any education, please remember us at Appraiser eLearning. We're trying to keep the lights on. We bring these webinars to you free of charge, along with the podcasts that come out on a regular basis free of charge. We are appraisers just like you. We love the business. Trying to give back is what we're doing today. So I'm your host, Bryan Reynolds, for SKAP the Appraiser. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon. Ben?
Sorry, I had to kill the